Hi, everyone. Okay, lesson 33. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. However, if you're caught up in your story or in your drama in any given moment, or if the emotional intensity of the moment is so great, it is virtually impossible to remember to even think this thought that there is another way of looking at the world or another way of looking at a specific situation. Understandable. That's what's called being asleep. You're not fully awake to any other possibility but the way you have decided something means. So looking at it more at a macro level, not necessarily in any given situation, but just looking at the world as we see it. What is our world view? What is the lens in which you are seeing your world? To you, the world may look very, very uncertain, unstable, scary, fearful. But to someone else, the world may look absolutely beautiful, full of opportunity, an opportunity to choose to contribute to making the world better, an opportunity to learn from everything that happens in the world. There's another way of looking at the world. You, at every moment, have a decision to make on how you're going to see your world. For some, the world looks like one in which we are all enslaved to a system. For others, the world looks very, very different, one in which everyone is awakening to the fact that we don't want the system to continue the way it is. We don't want to be enslaved to anyone, including ourselves. Because right now, the prison is in the mind. Right now, where we are to look to free ourselves from a sense of constriction, limitation, doubt, is in the mind. So if there is another way of looking at the world, how do you start? How do you start to see things differently? In this exercise, you would do two different types of practice periods. One of them is a little bit longer, 5 minutes or more, and that's more of closing your eyes and observing what comes up in your field of awareness and choosing to state internally, there is another way of looking at the world. So it's a meditation. And if you haven't yet started a practice of meditation, this is a wonderful invitation to do so, because it can start with just 5 minutes. Taking 5 minutes to close your eyes, sit still, and just allow whatever comes up to come up. And choose to remember to state there is another way of looking at the world. The second way of practicing this lesson is when you're under stress, when you're upset, when something happens that challenges you. And when you remember, and that's the tough part, is to actually remember, to state in your mind, there is another way of looking at this situation. You're going to sense a pull towards searching the mind for that other way. How else can I see this? And allowing yourself to consciously direct that search. I would ask to refrain from even going there at this point. All you're being asked to do in lesson 33 is to remind yourself to state there is another way of looking at the situation. And what you're doing is you're opening up to another source, a much deeper source of truth that will reveal that other way. But it's tough to allow for that if you're constantly trying to chime in with your own thoughts and beliefs and ideas of what that other way is. So resist the urge to search the mind, but just when you remember, when you're in that state of upset, when you remember that there is another way to look at this situation, that's all. That's the little willingness. That's the little impulse towards awakening that this lesson is actually asking you to entertain. I'm intentionally not wanting us, you and I, to get ahead of ourselves, because then the ego is going to try to be that other voice, and it's not. The voice of the ego cannot be heard alongside of the voice of truth. So you're just exploring the possibility that there is another way. That's the exercise for lesson 33. And it's all an inquiry. That's all it is. You're just opening up to possibilities. Something really, really powerful is coming in these lessons when everything changes, when you see everything through the eyes of love, when you see everything through the eyes of beauty, when suddenly all of the negativity and fear in the world you see as a call for help, as a way of inviting you to contribute to making things better, to seeing things differently. But it all starts on the inside. Thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow for lesson 34.